What an
There we
awkward
go.
beginning to the show. Oh my God, I just saw the Joker. Like,
I'm just waiting
hello.
here. I
Hey,
just want to smile.
not that we need to do an intro, but you know who you are. I know who I am. By the end of this show, one of us will probably be traded because that's what life is like for the Houston Rockets right now. It's the same but different. It's like going from the Gap to like, what's the other store like the Gap? I don't know, Banana Republic.
Banana Republic, yeah.
Yeah. It's like the same, but it's different. Like no more Morey, but his understudy. No more Westbrook, but I got a guy that's not like Westbrook, but kind of plays the same kind of shooting. It's just a different world we're living in, Raheel.
Yeah, this move. So, by the way, for those of you that don't know, John Wall is now a Houston Rocket, traded for Russell Westbrook, and it's mind-boggling to me because I understand that this move was made because of the locker room issues. Because I think Westbrook wanted to get out. We saw the quotes from people near Westbrook, not from Russell Westbrook himself, in regards to the culture here with the Rockets. So he didn't want to be a part of that. I get that. You know what? You want to go do your own thing. You want to have the ball in your hands, become the best player that you can be. That's perfectly fine. This doesn't make the Rockets better, in my opinion. I love John Wall. John Wall and Russell Westbrook are my two non-Rockets that I would love to watch when they were playing. And it's been a long time since John Wall has played because he missed all of last season and the season before with the torn Achilles. He's 30 years old. Even if you give them a full healthy season, right? John Wall healthy, Russell Westbrook healthy. Who's a better player?
Russell Westbrook, no doubt.
Yeah, to me, like no doubt. Like there's no hesitation.
It doesn't mean it's a better fit.
That's where I'm getting. It's in terms of fit, what the guys want, right? There were reports that John Wall didn't want to be in Washington anymore. Once his name was thrown out in trade rumors, he was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm out." Harden and Westbrook, I guess they didn't get along, or Westbrook didn't want to be here. So for the locker room, I understand it. But from a basketball perspective, I do not understand it. You're not a better team today. It's going to take John Wall a few months to get going as well. Yep. This is going to be his first NBA action in almost a year and a half plus. So it's not going to be an easy transition. Is James going to be okay with that? I know they've been playing pickup basketball, which is great, but it's going to be different, man. I don't know if this is
ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Look, I know James, there was those reports that he wanted to be traded. Whatever. If he wanted it or not, I don't care. People want to be traded all the time. Sometimes people want a different job, and then they love their job. It's whatever. Do you think they make this move without running it by James? A. And B, does it really matter? Were the Rockets going to win a championship with Russell Westbrook?
No, but were they? Yeah, they weren't. They weren't. I totally agree with you on that. But were they closer to winning a championship or better equipped to beat championship teams with Westbrook?
Maybe, but if he was unhappy and if he and James realized, you know what, man, it's not going to work with us too, even though they both were averaging, James in the 35s and Random won the post up there, Raheel. Good job.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
The comments keep coming in. They're coming in so fast. I'm sorry. There you go.
They're coming in hot.
Yeah.
But you get, what do you pick up this offseason? 3 first-round picks, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and you get a player that potentially might fit better. And we also haven't seen the Silas work. What if Steven Silas is like, look, I think I can work with Westbrook, but I really think I can work with John Wall. So this is all a bunch of questions. If Westbrook goes to Washington and they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, we can all say, man, that was a bad trade. But at the end of the day, it feels like we're playing NBA Live and we're just making a lot of trades. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like. All right, you know what? Let's get John Wall. How many freaking point guards and superstars are the Rockets going to bring in to satisfy Mr. James Harden?
As many as it takes, because they love James Harden. He is the franchise, right? He is still the franchise. They will do anything to make sure James Harden is happy because it's tough. It's really hard finding an all-star caliber player that is a perennial MVP and keeping him around. So you do anything you can to make him happy. So that's part of the NBA. Now it comes down to, do you believe James Harden can win you a championship with reshuffling the deck over and over again, right? The Rockets believe that. Rafael Stone believes that. And that's what matters, right? Because they're the ones making the decision. I don't think you're a better team today. I don't think even when John Wall is fully healthy, he's a better shooter and a better defender than
Barely
Westbrook.
Better shooter. Barely.
Yeah, like he's better, right? He is better. I get that, and I get it. I don't think you're as dynamic as you would have been with a healthy Westbrook. That's what a lot of people, and I said this last time we talked, we were so down on Russell Westbrook because he was playing with a quad injury. He had a stretch with James Harden and the Rockets where he was awesome, right, for a month and a half, and then the season stopped. You come back on the restart. It never got going for him for various reasons, right? They never found that groove, and it just didn't work out. So I get it, but it's similar to Chris Paul's second year. The guy was not right. Give him an offseason to get better. Give him that opportunity to improve. Give him that one more year to see let's see what can happen. And you didn't, right? And now you have John Wall, which I'm excited for. I want to watch John Wall play, but it's gonna take time again. Are you gonna panic again if he doesn't come out to a great start? If he doesn't have a great first year, are you gonna trade him again? Or are you gonna make another trade? Excuse me. That's what I don't like. Yeah.
And I cut you off like 18 times there. I apologize.
No. You're good. I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this one.
But here's the thing. Like, this sounds like such an apathetic fan, but that's what it's like to be in Houston. And we're gonna get Dave Hardisty here in a minute, our little buddy who we've been friends with for 20 plus years, to break down the Rockets from ClutchFans. But to me, it's like, could it have worked with Russell? Absolutely. Did I think they're gonna win a championship? No. But if Russell didn't want to be here, and if he and James maybe just realize, hey, we're buds, but this isn't going to work the way we want to play, or if Steven Silas has a different vision and he doesn't want ball dominant. Now, John Wall is also ball dominant, but maybe John Wall playing with somebody who's better than him. I know you can argue Bradley Beal, right? But he's never played with somebody of the quality and the caliber of a James Harden. That could make a complete difference for the way he plays. Maybe he's okay being the Scottie Pippen in this atmosphere.
Maybe, and yeah. I think both teams, look, it worked out because both guys get a new team to play with. I think for Russell Westbrook, it's a great trade because now you're playing on a really good Wizards team. I think that can do something in the East. I don't know if they're going to win it, right? Because everyone in the East is getting better as well. Milwaukee's awesome. Miami, for crying out loud, they went to the finals, right? And they're still there. You've got the Sixers getting better with Daryl Morey. There's a lot of moving parts in the East as well. So we'll see what happens over there. But for him, this is a better fit as well with Bradley Beal, who's a great shooter. You've got a young guy in Rui. That's going to be fun to watch as well. And I think there's going to be an FU mode that Russell Westbrook will go on again. Like, hey, guess what? You traded me. Let's go. Let's go. Similar to what happened in Oklahoma City after Kevin Durant left. And I hope John Wall has that same mentality of, oh, you were counting me out? Check this out. But it's going to be hard coming off that injury. I know pickup basketball is great and we can put up all the Twitter highlights we want, but it is going to take a month. It's going to probably take a little bit more than that to get back to John Wall being the great John Wall. That's an all-star caliber player, a great defender as well. So, man, I can't wait. And by the way, the first preseason game is 8 days away against Chicago. Yep. Man, hey, I'm so pumped.
Can you do a fact check like they do on some networks? I'm going to read this line and tell me, and by the way, it's not a line, it's a novel. So I appreciate Marcus chiming in on the novel here. Why are you guys still talking about old news? Actually, it happened last night. And technically the press conference is today with Steven Silas. So it's still new news. Harden begging Durant to go play with him. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe, who knows? Westbrook got the upper hand now. He got his trade. No one's going to pick Harden unless a superstar gets injured. Then he can negotiate. Oh, I quit. The bottom line is, it was just issues with that commentary. I see what you're saying. Like I've had issues with Harden since day one, not day one, but day two. I've had my issues with him. He is still one of the best players in the entire NBA, and unless you get an amazing deal, you don't trade a superstar, right? You don't. You just, especially one who's still young enough to win. Do I think he's going to win? I got my doubts, but I'm gonna let it play out. Let's let Dave Hardisty into the show. ClutchFans.net. My man, what's up, Dave?
Not much. How are you guys?
Good, man. It's been a minute. So, look, I don't think anybody was surprised by the trade. Maybe I was surprised it happened last night. But just your initial reaction when you heard that John Wall was coming to the Rockets with a first-round pick for Russell.
My first reaction was, what are the protections on the pick? Because that's, to me, an extremely important aspect of this deal. And I was a little bit disappointed at 2023 pick. That's lottery protected in that year. That's the final year of Westbrook's deal. I personally did not think Russ was a great fit. He did have a very good stretch. He was excellent, and he had a shot a career high from the field this past season. I just didn't think it was going to be a good fit with Harden, and I don't think it was. Certainly in the playoffs, he obviously was battling an injury. He was coming off of COVID. I understand that. But in the playoffs, he was a disaster. So they had that issue for sure. But I personally wanted to see them get him back, kind of see a little bit more of the rust that we saw in the regular season pre-COVID. And then if he still wants out, possibly move him then. But, that's the only thing, the big problem I have with this deal is I think the Rockets should have got a little bit stronger of a pick or 2 picks, because there is an injury history here with John Wall. He hasn't played for 2 full years on the calendar. So I think that's the big problem. But if all these reports, these glowing reports about how good he looks in workouts and scrimmages, if those are accurate, then maybe they're buying a little bit low on Wall.
So, Dave, us three, we have gone back for years, right? And I love having you on the show. Yesterday, though, on Twitter, I love Westbrook, okay, and I've loved watching him for his whole career. I love the intensity that he plays with. I think he has flaws in his game, right? And so many NBA players do. Yesterday, you got me triggered, okay? I'll admit it. And I even quote tweeted your tweet where, ever since the Westbrook trade, the following pieces have moved on, and the Rockets have done this. To put Mike D'Antoni in there and blaming it on Russell Westbrook, I thought that was unfair, because that was more of an owner issue, right? That goes back to what happened with Tillman not giving him the extension, Tillman not calling him the day after the season ended to talk about their future, and then Daryl Morey, we'll get to him, but would you like to correct yourself that Westbrook had nothing to do with Mike D'Antoni? Okay, I'm going to defend my guy.
Well, I'm somewhere in between, because I certainly don't think Mike D'Antoni left because of Russell Westbrook. But I think D'Antoni's future here was tied to the success of the team, and I think you'd have to put some of that at the feet of Westbrook. I think they made that change. I don't think D'Antoni was originally on board with it, even if he was, playing along. I think he had a good system, and I don't think he wanted to move Chris Paul. I think that was out of his hands. I think it was out of Daryl Morey's hands. And I think, I don't think it was an attractive situation for D'Antoni or for Daryl Morey. And I think not having the success that he wanted, I don't think Tillman wanted to bring D'Antoni back anyway. And I think Morey was kind of getting phased out and just looked at the landscape and probably had a good idea that he could be hired somewhere else. And I think he left as well. I think that trade, not specifically Russell Westbrook, that trade made the Rockets unattractive for both of those guys. They didn't have any more assets to be able to either move a contract or get another significant player. And as you saw, Rafael Stone had to go out and trade an important asset in Robert Covington to get that process started. So, yeah, you're right. It wasn't directly Russell Westbrook that kicked those guys out, but I think the fallout from that trade in general, I do tie both D'Antoni and Morey into that.
So this, I think, is an obvious answer, Dave, but I'm just going to throw it out there, and Raheel chime in. Of the 3 point guards, those musical chairs we've seen, I think we'd all like to Control, Alt, Delete, and go back to Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is probably the best fit of the 3, right?
No question. And it's so unfortunate. I'm not going to pile on James Harden, but I think that unguardable tour stretch when Chris Paul was out there in 18-19, right, just created a monster, because he had this 40-point game stretch. He was doing things that were just we hadn't seen from any player, and I think he leveraged that. When it didn't work out well, it didn't end well with Chris Paul. I think he used his power or strength and kind of got the ball rolling and getting Westbrook. But there's no doubt, regardless of any kind of personality conflicts they had, that Chris Paul was the best fit next to James Harden. He could play off the ball. He could hit the catch and shoot threes. He kept the turnovers down. He was a very good defensive player. And most importantly, he ran the units with Harden off the floor extremely well. The plus minus is through the roof, but when they ran there with with Eric Gordon and Tucker, I mean, those guys were very, very good. So Chris Paul would just kill backup lineups. The problem was he was injury prone that year. He was losing it maybe a little bit of a step coming off that hamstring injury. And I think the Rockets saw writing on the wall and said, we could possibly move him. But I think even an aged Chris Paul is better than an in prime Westbrook as far as next to James Harden.
And we saw that, this past season where Chris Paul was fantastic for Oklahoma City, a team that was not predicted to go to the playoffs. He gets them to the playoffs. They were, one possession away from beating the Rockets in Game 7 if it wasn't for that James Harden block. And look, Chris Paul wasn't good down the stretch either for Oklahoma City, but he was fantastic in that he got the opportunity, right, to prove people that, hey, give me another offseason. Let me get better, right? Here's where I struggled. Let me improve on that. Give me the chance to become better. And the Rockets didn't give him that because of whatever, personality differences, whatever was happening with James Harden and the power that he's built up within this franchise, and rightfully so. I think it sucks that we didn't get a chance to see Chris Paul prove everyone wrong with the Rockets. And now he's going to have a chance to do it with Phoenix, by the way, because he got traded earlier in this offseason as well. So it was the perfect accountability fit as well to hold James accountable from somebody that can actually back it up.
That's exactly right. I think as far as a leader, Chris Paul is an outstanding leader. I think he's vocal, and I think that rubbed Harden the wrong way, especially that season when he was out there just killing teams with Chris Paul off the floor, or when Chris Paul was injured, and he's kind of looking at him like no longer an equal or a close enough player. And I think he didn't like it that he was being criticized or talked to in some way. So, that part is absolutely frustrating because Chris Paul had started his diet routine, his new plant-based approach before the trade. He was getting into better shape. And so it's unfortunate. I think they would have done much better against the Lakers, possibly even won the series if they had Chris Paul. I think it's a different style, a different type of player. I think Clint Capella would still be here if they had Chris Paul. But what's done is done, and now the Rockets have to. It's unfortunate that they thought Chris Paul's contract was so terrible, and now they've gone into two contracts that are actually worse, at least as far as commitment and how much is owed. So it's now on John Wall, and they've got to really hope that he's healthy. And he's very similar to Westbrook, much closer to Westbrook than he is to Chris Paul. I would say he's not a good shooter, but he's better than Westbrook. He's not a great defensive player, but he's probably better than Westbrook. And taking care of the ball, he's turnover prone, but again, not as bad as Westbrook. So there's an upgrade possibility. I just wanted to see them get a better pick for the injury history.
Dave, let's talk a little best case, worst case scenario with a couple of the Rockets' new pieces, right? We expect James to be James, and he's not going to get traded. I don't believe that's been on the table. But let's just assume this for the second. Best case scenario: Wall and Cousins play to their best at this age. Okay, maybe not their all-star level, but the best to their age and considering. And then the fallback, how they look if they are the injured people that we've seen the last couple of years.
Well, if John Wall is the injured player that we saw before, where he's really not able to play, the Rockets are in a very tough spot because they lost Austin Rivers. They picked up Jerry and Grant, but they really don't have backup point guard. I mean, at that point, they're going to run Eric Gordon as your two, I assume, and go with House, Tucker, and then Christian Wood. I think DeMarcus Cousins is a flyer. I mean, he's got nothing but upside. There's really no risk here, not like John Wall, where you're taking on $130, $150 million, whatever it is, for the next 3 years. But I just think there's nothing but upside there. He can play a backup center role to Christian Wood, who I think has very good potential to fit in very well here with James Harden. And I think that, if that doesn't work out, I don't think that damages him quite as much. Wall, you've got to get at least 60 games out of him this year. I mean, you're going to need him to have, play the most games he's played in 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. Let's say John Wall comes out blazing, looks awesome, has a great year. Can you maybe even flip him, right, in the offseason, maybe around trade deadline? Is there a chance to flip him for something else? Because James Harden's not going to be here. Let's just say he's not going to re-sign, right, in a couple of years. You got to start thinking about the rebuilding process, and Rafael Stone has a tough upcoming stretch of years in terms of, do you re-sign an older James Harden? Do you start rebuilding? Do you try to flip John Wall for something else? Man, this is going to be fascinating what this season means for the future of this organization.
You bring up a great point, Raheel, because, the Rockets now, if they do want to move Wall eventually for whatever reason, they've got 3 first-round picks. They are protected in some cases heavily, but they are valuable assets. You can now include assets to maybe unload a contract or get in pieces that maybe fit better around Harden. Also, I don't think they'll do that this year, but in 2022 and 2023, they own their picks outright. And then, this year, the swap, 2024 and 2026, they owe picks, and then 2025, another swap. That's when things are going to get a little dicey and hairy. There are some very high level protections. I think top 4, one of the swaps is top 10 protected. But if they're going to rebuild, they're going to need to go south in 2022 and 2023 because they'll have their picks outright and can possibly move some other stuff. But I agree with you. John Wall can come in, play very well, and then if they're not long on this pairing, then they could possibly move Wall and get something different that fits their rebuild.
Every contract I feel in the NBA is tradable, Dave. We've heard it from the Kelvin Cato days. We heard it with Chris Paul's deal.
Yeah.
We've heard it now with John Wall, and Russell Westbrook as well. Hey, I've actually been very impressed or intrigued by Stone's moves. I think he's been a little more active than I expected. And I what have you seen here this first month of the offseason heading into the season?
I've been impressed. I mean, I really feel like that what the Rockets front office is an extension of Daryl. Daryl, that's still the same unit, just Daryl's no longer at the head. And so, Rafael Stone was, he's a great lawyer, but as far as a GM, was basically trained by Daryl and was always part of these talks and process. So I think, it's basically continuing the analytics department that they've had from before. And I think he's done a very good job. I think the Christian Wood move was very smart. I think that's the kind of guy that could fit very well here. And I think for what they got him for, there could be tremendous upside there. I mean, there's a risk with Christian Wood. We don't know. Sometimes players in losing situations can put up numbers, and how are they going to do in a winning situation? Is he going to be a smart defensive anchor? But I think targeting him was a very, very good move, and I think they did a great job to make that trade. And he picked up some picks and some assets in the move. It's tough to lose Robert Covington, no doubt about that. But I think he was more key to the type of small ball lineups that they were running, and now they're going to go a little bit more traditional. I think you'll still see some small ball, but I think you're going to see also some more traditional lineups. You're going to have that at least as an option. They didn't go they're not going all in like they did before. So I've been impressed with what he's done so far. I think they've had a pretty good offseason.
Man, I can't wait. Preseason games start on the 11th, so we'll get a chance to actually see this team compete against another team. It's going to be the Chicago Bulls for a couple of games, right, to get things going. So we'll get a chance to not only see John Wall and James Harden play together, but more importantly, the whole new system of Stephen Silas. What he did with the Mavericks as the offensive coordinator, quote unquote, was awesome, right? That was historically one of the greatest offensive teams, what Luka and the Mavericks did. And you've got a weapon who is better than Luka, right? You've got James Harden here, and now you've got another elite guard to lead that attack. I'm so excited to see what Stephen Silas can do, and not only with offense, but as his first head coaching job. Yeah, I love that hire. I was a little bit worried that they might go more of a Van Gundy, and I like Jeff Van Gundy a lot, but I just felt like, especially if a rebuild is going to happen or something down the line, I think you want to go with a young coach with good upside and a guy who needs an opportunity. I think this is a great opportunity for him. I think, like you said, what he did with the Mavericks is very impressive. Now, they had a great variety of shooters around Luka, but I think adding Christian Wood, now you've got at least a similar type of combination as they have with Luka and Porzingis. So I think what he could do here could be very impressive. Hopefully we'll get back to a little bit more what you saw originally in 16-17, where the Rockets had this very explosive offense and with, basically just nothing but role players around James Harden. So, I'm hopeful about Wall. I just, I'm kind of like, we'll wait and see mode. I don't love the trade. I'm okay with it. And so I'm hoping that he'll be have an impact here and be able to run the second units effectively.
Guys, I'm going to say this and react to it before we go. To me, it doesn't really Wall matters. DeMarcus matters. Of course, they all matter. But to me, what really matters is if we're seeing the Rockets do the dribble offense that we've seen them do over the years. Mike D'Antoni is a very gifted coach who abandoned, I think, some of his offensive philosophies because of the personnel he had. And that's what James wanted. This team cannot get into this half-court set and dribble the shot clock down at the end of games with 3 seconds left, and James is going to do the little dribble thing, and then I'm going to do a little more dribbling, and then I'm going to do a little more dribbling, and then I might shoot or I might go. That cannot happen at the end of games, especially playoff games, especially tight games. And that's really, I think, the key for the Rockets to have a legitimate chance with this roster. That has to change.
Let's hope so. I think Harden would have to buy in with Silas, just 100%. And right now, I'm not sure about his commitment with the Rockets. Hopefully he's all in. Hopefully they come out strong and he puts some of this, desire to leave behind him. I have a hard time seeing James Harden not go to that in the final few minutes. It's just his go-to. It's what he does, and I can't see them getting away from it, even if the coach wants it. I could see that him still going to that as a default. But I agree with you. They're much better when they move the ball. They've had a lot of times where they've had leads. They're trying to hold on to leads. They just dribble out the shot clock and miss, and the other team comes roaring back. So hopefully they can make some changes there. But I with James Harden being the great isolation player and him knowing that, I could see them still going to it.
And that's the problem, right? Like accountability within the franchise. And I get it. Look, I love the NBA. It's my favorite league, but it is a player-run league, right? Like you have to bend over to the players and say, whatever you want, sir, this is you, right? Especially elite talent.
A little graphic.
No, bend the knee, right? You got to go, hey, yes, absolutely, LeBron. You want, yes, sir. Anything you want, right? Hey, James, you want isolation? Yes. But this is where you need somebody to step in and say, look, we've tried that way, and guess what happened? We lost, right? We've tried that way, and not only did we lose last year, we lost to Golden State in the first round after Durant gets injured, and we got to cut this out, okay? James, Guess what? You're buying in. And if you don't like it, tough luck, man. We're going to try something different. I wish that would happen, but it won't. It just won't because of who he is and how much power he has.
It's unfortunate, right? I mean, that's, like I said, the monster that they created, because he is so good and he deserves, to have that voice, but not to the extent and the control to the extent that he has had. And, I mentioned, when this first started to come out, as far as being the quasi GM, he needs to be fired. I mean, like he can have some input, but the Rockets need to make those decisions themselves. And as far as coaching too, I mean, he's a great player. You have to take his input, but he needs to accept Stephen Silas as the coach. Let him use his strengths and his skills. This is a different team, different GM, different front office, and Harden's hopefully going to have to get on board with that.
Dave, we appreciate you, brother. We've been friends since, 97, man. You're always so good to us, and thank you so much, and the great work you do there at ClutchFans.
Yeah, you bet, guys. It's great to see where you've taken No Layups, and great show. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
you, brother. That's our buddy Dave Hardisty, the best out there. He's been covering the Rockets since I was in college, and I'm old, Raheel, so it's been a long time. Hey,
they had the internet. Hold on, they had the internet back then.
It was called AOL or Prodigy. Yeah, we would dial up. And I, by the way, if anybody from ClutchFans is listening, I've posted for 20 years on. It's been a while since I posted. I think the last time I posted on there was when Dwight was still with the Rockets, but Puff was my name on ClutchFans. So if anybody had, and there's a couple of times I argued with people before I was a sports media member. Hey, we're gonna get to the GOAT here in a minute, Andre Johnson, one of our favorites. We talked to him earlier this week. We're gonna run that interview here momentarily. But can I talk about something non-sports?
Yes, please.
You know what really upsets me beyond internet people who type stuff that doesn't matter? You know what else really bugs me?
What bugs you?
Smoke alarms in the house. So,
hold on. What?
Okay, like I know they're needed and they're safe, right? You need to, especially with children. That part of it I like. What I don't like is, so last night I'm doing the news from home. I have to do the news from home this week, and every 4 minutes you'd hear beep, 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 beep. So today I spent an hour and 36 minutes trying to get rid of the darn beep. Because they're synchronized. I don't know.
It's just a battery change.
No, it's not. That's the lie. It's somebody is doing something. They communicate with each other, because this is what happens. I swear to you, bro. I spent an hour and 36 minutes on this deal. I changed one because I know it's the one that's beeping. Then I hear another one beeping. So I go to that one and I change that one. Then I hear the one that I just changed beeping again. And I had my family, all of the kids are helping, the wife is helping. Like, we're at different parts of the house. Is it that one? And we run and we change it. They communicate with each other It's a fact. This is not anybody. People can talk about this on the air. This is a true story. It's going on all over the house, and I finally wanted to just get it and throw it through the freaking house. But I thank you, D-Man. He knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, hold on. I got to post this as a question. Are smoke detectors?
They've got some kind of like bonded
talking
conscience
to each other,
and they mess with you on purpose. It is a fact. Google it. I saw it somewhere. Maybe it was Reddit. Maybe it was Wikipedia, but I saw it.
Okay, I need people to answer this because I haven't had the issue yet, but I understand the annoyance of the beep, beep.
Yeah. You change it, it keeps going.
So my daughter on Saturday mornings, she does religious classes, right? Because we can't go to the mosque to do classes, so we do it through Zoom. And for the last, December now, so she started back up in September. There's one kid whose smoke alarm or smoke detector keeps going boop, boop. And it's been going on since September, and they've yet to change it.
Well, I bet you they've changed it. They just can't figure out which one is going crazy. They have a red and green light. Here, let's put this one. Donnie knows what he's talking about. They have a red and green light. The one that needs a new battery will have a red light, but yes, they communicate with each other. Guess what? All of them were red and green, and all of them I changed. Every single darn one of them. And here's the weird part, bro. We found the culprit.
What was it? The oven?
No. It was so we have smoke alarms that you have to have in your house. We also have an additional one that's from our alarm. Okay?
Okay.
Not connected, but connected. They communicate to each other.
Whoa.
Yes. The same
Russia.
beat, different company. Yes. If they can hack an election, they can hack my smoke alarm, Raheel. Facts.
Allegedly.
No. Well, about the smoke alarm, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, this is Carlos. I get him. See, we're very similar. I wanted to get because you could, there's a weird thing. You could take a battery out, it still goes off.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is we should start a company that specializes in fixing smoke detectors, and we do it right the first time.
You never have to deal with it again.
Never. Like, we'll just take care of it.
I want to make sure, Patrick says, who cares? I care. If you're asking a question, Raheel, do you care about the conversation?
I do. I absolutely love
it. Okay, so that's 2.
Yeah,
now, hold on. Carlos, 3. Donnie, 4. Is that 5? 6? Okay, 6 people care.
And Carlos, I'm gonna give him the smiley face or the laughing faces. He cares.
Yeah. So now who cares what Patrick thinks?
Ooh, I think he was talking about the Rockets.
Now I feel very rude. Now I feel very rude.
Oh man, that was
Patrick,
aggressive.
You're back in the circle of trust. Welcome back.
Hey, did you catch up on Mandalorian yet?
No, but we have to quarantine for a little bit. We have somebody in our family come down with it, so we will. I will be doing sports from home for a little bit, and I will be catching up on Mandalorian and Karate Kid show, which I haven't caught up on yet.
Okay, one other thing before we get Andre Johnson in, Andre Johnson's joining the show, and he was awesome. He talked about the fight with Cortland Finnegan. He talked about what the difference is playing for Bill O'Brien versus playing for the Cardinals in regards to Nuke Hopkins. So we'll talk to him here in just a second. My next question for you is, with the Rockets, okay, last night,
back to Westbrook, the Rockets?
Yeah, back to the Rockets, but not the basketball side.
Okay.
The jersey side. What did you think about their City Edition uniforms?
So first off, your boy Joel Blank hated the Columbia blue. I absolutely love it. I don't wear basketball jerseys anymore. That's so 1996 for me. But I used to wear them, and I'd show the guns. But I would wear that Columbia blue Rockets jersey without a doubt.
Do they not look like the Mavericks jersey to you when you see them? Because the dark blue trim on the top. When I saw it, I was like, wait, this doesn't remind me of the Oilers. This reminds me of the Mavericks. And somebody sent me a picture of the jerseys in person, and they don't look like Oilers jerseys. They don't look like what you know as the Oilers, right? The Love You Blue era. So I don't know what they're going for.
In person.
Yeah. And then the other thing is I'm with Joel, by the way. I agree with Joel Blank. Joel Blank is a friend of ours. He used to work for the Rockets. He currently does radio at ESPN Houston. And he pretty much said, why are you dipping into the football team's history when you have a history of your own and honor that history? Why?
I'll tell you why. Because the football team doesn't dip into the history. And I miss that as much. So for me, for my generation, that is like, you know how a lot of people look at the Rockets red, white, and yellows. That's how we look at the Oilers. Like, those are, like, to us, that means a lot. And if it's the Roughnecks or if it's the Rockets or if it's I want to see the Columbia Blue. I hate that the Oilers history moved to Nashville. Earl Campbell did not do anything for the city of Nashville. No. Okay, his numbers and his history, that number 34 belong in the city of Houston. And I am so upset that happened. And there's got to be – the city owns the team. Yes, the owner and the NFL are the curators, but let's be honest. We own that team.
Yeah, but I get, so then let somebody else do it. Like, would the Astros ever honor Oilers colors? No, because they have a rich, deep history of their own.
Dude, they did a green St. Patrick's Day uniform. Why not? Who cares? It's just marketing.
No. This is a city edition, though. Dude, this is my city.
They did a Spanish Los Astros, okay? Who cares? It's
but they're allowed to. Okay, the Astros were a bad example because they're allowed to do as many jerseys, it seems like, as possible, right? And no, it's not because I'm too young to understand. I understand the history of the. No. You know what I don't understand is why not honor your own history? That's our guy Tony.
Watson telling you that. That's Deshaun Watson. He agrees.
No, that's Tony. That's our guy Tony.
That's Deshaun Watson.
Why not honor your championship history and put out a sweet red and mustard yellow uniform or something inspired by your own team?
They've done it.
No, they haven't. Not like the retro of it.
I think I've seen the retros. I'm pretty sure.
Why not honor the pajama cartoon rocket ship from the late 90s to early 2000s, huh?
Hold on.
Why not?
Hold on. I'm gonna tell you why. First off, you're ridiculous. Okay, I don't
those
know.
Those are the best uniforms. I love those uniforms.
Nobody liked those uniforms then. They don't like them now. They want to make money with you. Okay, if they took away the little space, like little line, they would like them, all right? But the whole in the little the logo was terrible.
The cartoon logo.
I think here's a real question. Why do we have to have an opinion on everything? Why is everyone gonna get mad at it? Like, I can't believe they did the Blues. Well, like,
okay.
When the
opinion.
Astros did the St. Patrick's Day green, I just said, "Oh, nice," and I moved on. The Rockets are doing a Rockets an Oilers looking color. Cool, thank you. I might wear that. I might wear the hat. Okay, the end. It's that simple.
The shorts are pretty fire. I think you will rock the shorts over the jerseys.
Are we too old to say the word fire in a sentence?
No, I think you might be. I'm too young. Remember, you're too old now. So that comment goes.
I don't think I can say that. Like, hey, by the way, let's. I just want to answer this question out loud. Hey, I'm doing well, thank you, CJ. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well as well, my friend. And yes, Steven, Astros need to bring back the silver and blue colors.
The Killer Bees, right? The Killer Bees uniforms.
Yeah. So
I do miss those. I mean, I had one more thing for you
before we get to Dre, right?
What did I have? I blanked. You know what? Never mind. I forgot it. Oh yes. Okay. I'm happy. Hold on. Okay, hold on. CJ, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for your comments. He just said, "Hey, Mr. Raheel Ramzanali, how are you doing today, sir?" I'm doing great.
CJ has been a long listener, viewer. CJ. He's been great. We appreciate him.
The one thing I do appreciate with these uniforms and last year's City Edition uniforms with the Rockets is that they weren't the China Edition ones. Remember, for the longest time, the Houston Rockets had so much of a business interest in China that even the City Edition uniforms were like an homage to the Chinese market and not the Houston market. And I'm not talking about the Houston Chinese market. It was like the actual continent and the country of China. So I'm happy it's like actually city themed at least. So that's good. At least we're moving forward.
Look, I like it. They're all like, I guess maybe coming from the soccer world, since I'm such a long soccer historian, they do these like, every year, like Madrid has a different, like alternate colored, and you're like, where did that pink come from? Where did this come from? Like it is what it is. I am so happy that they're trying it. They're gonna wear it. What? How many times do they wear these uniforms? I don't even know. Like,
so they wear for marquee games. They can wear it as many times now because they wore the NASA ones last year a lot. So I'm cool with it now because you told me pretty much like, hey, I think you're getting worked up for no reason.
You're becoming me. Don't be me.
Yeah,
be you.
I am. But I'm excited. I can't wait, dude. Training camp is underway for the Houston Rockets. By the way, you'll have reports on them and everything. Steven Silas is going to speak about new John Wall, their new player, okay? And then also the new offense that he's going to put into play. I can't wait, man. I'm glad NBA season is back.
You said you had another thing for me, and then I cut you off. What is the other thing?
No, that was it. The fact that they are actually doing city editions now, and like for the actual city of Houston.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. But it's weird, man. Like as we 2020 is coming to a close, like what's going to be the next shoe to drop? I mean, I'm not even just talking about the Rockets who have completely shed their skin. We're talking about in the last 10 months, bro. I just broke you. Sorry. 10 months. Luno, Hinch, Garrett Cole. That's about a year. Garrett Cole. Okay. Verlander done for the year.
Morey,
Jordan
D'Antoni,
D'Antoni, Morey, Westbrook,
Bill O'Brien.
What was CP3? October of last year?
Yeah, it was. No, it was December 13th of last year.
Was it?
Yep, I won't forget the date because I was at
Westbrook
prayer.
Started the season with the Rockets, and the season starts in November. No way.
No. Sorry, July. It was 11 July. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I mixed it up.
So in the last 15 months, even CP3, this city, like, what is next? Is George going to end up in Toronto? Is Carlos Correa going to get traded?
Will Fuller and Bradley Roby's PEDs?
We didn't even talk about that.
I know. That happened on Monday. That feels like a lifetime ago. Great work, guys. Right when you were starting to play good football and get a couple of wins in a row, that news comes down that they're suspended 6 games and your season is done again. Like, if you had any hopes, right? Even the most diehard fan had any hopes of finishing 9-7 and maybe sneaking into the playoffs because the NFL could open up an 8th spot depending on what happens with COVID-19 and rescheduling of games, and maybe you sneak in. Those hopes are gone.
Hey, well, I'm gonna do a little optimistic. All right, here's my optimistic. I wasn't very impressed with Roby. I hope he comes back next year and he's fine. But the defense has been playing a lot better the last couple of weeks. Maybe it's the opponents, whatever. But offensively, I know he's like the Loch Ness Monster. You only see him every once in a while, but Kiki can maybe do a little Willie. And Brandon Cooks has looked really good the last couple of weeks. So
he has.
I'm just saying, look, it's not going to be as good, but can you beat the Colts this weekend this way? Maybe.
You know who's going to have a really good stretch of games here? Our guy, Pharaoh Brown. I think they're going to start using him a lot more. They have to.
Absolutely.
He's a great receiving tight end, so let's use him a little bit more. So we'll see what happens.
All right, enough of us. I mean, we talked about alarms or fire alarms. One poster said, "I just care about my family being safe." Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
David didn't say, "Hey, am I picking my family in one hand or the annoying sound?" No, we're gonna assume. Yeah, we're gonna assume that family's safe in this.
I want an airbag. Okay, I definitely want an airbag in my car, but I don't want it to go off if I go to a stop sign. Okay, It's the same thing. It's the same concept. All right, guys, let's go to our interview with Andre Johnson, the GOAT. Talk to him about Will Fuller. I don't need it. Just listen. It's good.
Keep talking. Hold on. Here we go.
That guy's very handsome. Who is that?
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Go. All right, we're here with the GOAT, Andre Johnson, talking a little Crown Royal, talking a little Texans. Dre, it's been a long time, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Good, man. So what are you doing with Crown Royal? What's going on? I see hydration is a top-of-mind thing.
Yeah, I teamed up with Crown Royal, and it's water breaks. Just encouraging fans to just take water breaks, at the time when they're, out having drinks and things like that. With the whole pandemic and, liquor prices going, sales going up, just encouraging them to drink responsibly and take water breaks at the same time.
Now, are we talking about hey, let's have pre-day hydration like you would do in a game? Like you got to hydrate the day before the game so you don't get cramps the next day. Are we going that serious or are we just taking little breaks here?
No, just, like I said, just drink it responsibly and just at the same time, just taking water breaks in between. So.
Dre, I got to say, I'm a little, look at this, man. You look like you're in Wall Street. That office is amazing. That chair, the background. I love that look, man.
Appreciate it.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about this weird season for the Texans. I keep telling people that, yes, they had that terrible start, but it's fun to be playing with a purpose right now. They're in the mix. Not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but at least they're a relevant team once again.
Yeah, definitely. It's always great when you have something to play for. I've experienced 2-14 seasons, and those seasons are not good. You don't have a chance at anything. But when you have something to play for, man, you can continue to go out there and fight every Sunday, and just see what happens. You never know what can happen.
Have you kept in touch with Deshaun, with JJ? I mean, guys that you know personally, being in that locker room for a while, and of course on the staff there for a bit. Have you talked to them during this season and kept in touch with them?
I talk to them from time to time. Not as much as I have in the past. I when I left, I just kind of just took a break, from this football period, So, but they the guys are okay, man. It's like I said, it started off rough, but you can see that they are, you can see it they seem more confident now. I think with this whole pandemic thing, I think that, there was no off season, there was no preseason. And now I just think they're at a place to where they're confident, they feel comfortable with each other, and they're all on the same page.
Andre, the shocking news that came out about Will and Bradley, it just shows how, from your perspective as a player, when you go see your own doctor, how do you kind of convey that message that, hey, man, there's certain protocols we got to follow?
Well, I think for me, I wasn't a supplement guy. So I just didn't. I didn't take it. I didn't believe in it. And that's just me. And I'm not saying that, Will or Bradley or, they were purposely doing something wrong. But you just have to be careful of what doctors are trying to give you, or, you have to be, hey, what's in this? Like, so I think for you as the player, because it's only going to hurt you, it's not going to hurt the doctor, that you have to be, very detailed in what's in those supplements that you may be taking. And for them, unfortunately, it's costing them 6 games. And that's something you don't want to see happen.
How much of an outside influence is there, and how much of a temptation is there? I know you don't take supplements, but when you are working out with other people in the off season, you've got people coming up to you saying, hey, you got to try this, or you hear from other players, you got to try that. What was that like when you were playing, and what have you heard about now?
I don't know. For me, it was just different. I just never was into that. Like, nothing about that. Like, I've seen guys do it, and I used to always think they were crazy. Like, I'm not my body, but you have some doctors that have things that, they may be like, hey, you should try this or try that. And now you have a lot of guys that have their own outside doctors. And, you, like I say, you just have to be very detailed and what it is that they are trying to give you or, telling you about. So it's up to you to go do your own research to make sure that whatever they're giving or telling you about is not on the banned substances.
Most of Houston back in March broke their phone when they found out that your little brother was traded to Arizona. We're still upset about that. What about the way DeAndre's playing this year? And it looks like he loves to subtweet the tech. Not even subtweet. He talks about it, that chip on his shoulder.
It's fun. It's fun to watch, man. To be honest, we still talk a lot. He's just from what I get from him and when I talk to him, he sounds happy as hell. He sounds very happy. He sounds like he's really enjoying himself, in Arizona, and it shows when you watch him play on the field. So he's very excited, about being in Arizona and what the future holds for him. So.
It was funny when he was traded. The first thing I said was, I'm so happy for him because he's now gone from, there was a regime there at that time when, you're like, oh my gosh, like there's always something happening. There's always some kind of drama. There's always this. And guys just didn't play free. It felt like it was either the system or the highway, right? And I was so happy for him that he got there. He went with the young quarterback. And, look, Deshaun's excellent. Kyler's great too. But he was playing for a coach now in Cliff where it's offense. It's, we trust the guys. It's, have a good time. And it's funny, that really does reflect on the field when everything else around you is a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more player focused.
Yeah, it is. You don't ever want to walk around a building where you have to feel tight as a player, or you're afraid to make a mistake or anything like that. But when you're around a situation and it's fun, you can go out there and play and breathe like that. So you can, like I said, you can tell just by watching him play, like he's really enjoying himself and he's having fun out there on the field.
Andre, we spoke to another one of the guys that you mentored, Jacoby Jones, just the other day. He shared with us, you guys share a birthday, which I did not know. He says he's the bad version of you and the little brother. But he also said he would never get into a boxing match like we saw this past weekend with Tyson and Roy Jones. Now, I have to think that you could probably box, Dre, can you?
No, I've done it a little bit. I wouldn't get in the ring though. I wouldn't do that. I mean, so I'm very close friends with Jamal Charlo, who's a champion, and I've been and watched him train like several times. Those good dudes are very, very skilled at what they do. And, you just coming in there thinking you're going to go in there and knock one of those guys out, there's no chance, man. So
no chance at all. Did you know, speaking of boxing, did you know it was a 10-year anniversary of your infamous fight just this past week with an unnamed player? I don't want to, because look, he keeps throwing shades. I just want to know, have you ever talked to Cortland since that incident?
No, I've actually seen him. I seen him in New York at the uniform unveiling when Nike took over the NFL. But he could throw shade all he wants, man. He stays far away from me. I'll just leave it at that.
We all saw it, Dre. Hey, I tell you this. I know we got to close here. I tell you this every time that we chat. But you're the most gracious superstar that I've come across here in Houston, man. You're always so polite. Always give such great answers, man. And you're a Hall of Famer to us, and I can't wait to one day cover you going into the Hall of Fame because I do believe it'll happen.
I appreciate it, man.